Hello everybody, welcome back to EEP 15. Today I would like to talk about some track changes that I did. And what we're looking here at is basically the old version. I don't expect anybody to remember that. That's why I put the old version out first, that we can compare it with the new layout. But we will also look at some building changes. So this is 2 save points backwards and represents the layout until very recently. But we haven't looked at it in a long time, so I wanted to remind everybody in how it did look. And now I go and close this one. And this is a new layout. So instead of having a continuous curve into the train station, which wasn't the problem, I thought, we have now a straight line going into the freight bypass here. This building is also a new building. And I've installed here some more of this double cross switch points. That is actually important also here for the branch line. It used to be just a crossing. And if you just cross without using this piece, trains don't recognize that they are basically in a potential conflict, and they wouldn't stop. They often got lucky and didn't hit each other, but it could very well be that this is actually a branch line train here. Let's see. Yes, it is. So now we have this train here waiting for this train, and he will clear the predefined route very soon, and then this guy gets entry. Furthermore, I've enabled the bypass for freight trains. So from now on we should see, there's one already waiting. Freight trains, both coming from the branch line and those coming from the main line, will now enter the freight bypass. And you see the same change has been done here. It basically comes out in a kind of straight line from the branch line connection and then curves off into the train station. This siding here is new. I will put some freight cars there so that they can kind of give a little bit of backdrop. I haven't done all contacts yet that dissolve and release the preset routes, so I still experience wait times that are probably in the train station a little bit longer than necessary. This one has to wait anyways. It is a branch line train. It has to wait until the previous train is actually safely in the shadow train station and then can go. And that is another freight train. Let's see where he goes. Yeah, he gains entry and uses the bypass, which is fantastic. That's what we wanted to see. We want from now on only passenger trains. They go into the passenger train station, and all the freight trains will go through here. And you saw that the route just became available, and now this little branch line train should leave here off into the distance to the left. One last look. And then we look a little bit at the other side. Yeah. Seems to work. Seems to work in general. Yeah, another freight train goes now in here, gets directly green light because everything is free, just passing through. Because that train is on a different line than this one. This is main line, this is branch line. And he goes off as well. Alright, that's good. I think that looks now, well, I'm not sure if it looks good, but it looks better, I believe, than it did before. It looks like, first of all, it's not secured really with those tracks that just crossed each other willy-nilly, and now it is kind of using these DKWs that are fully secured when it comes to predefined routes and traffic control. So we shouldn't see any nearby collisions. Okay, that is one thing. I think I changed this building here as well. This was a building like that one, if I remember correctly, and I think it looks fine there. So, what else has changed? I expanded the farmland. There used to be just this farm and this pasture, but nothing here. And at least up to this little lane here, I've added fields also on the north side of the east-west main line. This one was, of course, here. We saw that part already during the turnip shunting processes. And now we have a little bit more farmland here. Little creek coming down from the sawmill area where we did the lumber shunting. This farm is new. And there is no field yet. There will be more fields, presumably. And this field is new. I like the elevation coming down gently down the slope. That is actually looking really nice. I like that. It came natural with this line being a little bit elevated, but if it were natural, one should actually make those slight changes in the field. I think that looks fantastic. And we have yet one more farm here. And I could imagine that we will get a few fields in that direction, and it goes over into a forested area back here where the mountains start in the distance. Also, this kind of ridge here in between the castle and our farmland will be forested, as you see. That's an well, if you go near, it doesn't look so great anymore, but I think it is a fantastic piece. And what is special about it, if I may just show you that, is that this trees can be put into an incline. If you go into the properties and change them, you can adjust the incline accordingly and put them on slopes. And while they don't have to match the slope perfectly, it is much easier now to plant trees on slopes than it used to be. You basically had to use single trees. All the groups didn't work on an incline because if you inclined the whole group, they looked kind of not vertical anymore, of course. And that was terrible. So this is a great idea. Whoever had it, thank you very much. The only thing I don't like about it is that they look very much like planted in a row. They don't look kind of mixed around. Do you need those? Absolutely no. You don't need those plants or those conifers. You can plant single trees. It's a little bit more work, but you get the same, perhaps even a more irregular result. You can also use the scatter tool. I never got something dense enough out of the scatter tool like the forest back here. I used it earlier on to plant those trees. And you see you can of course change the distances, but it is very hard to make them dense enough. They look more like a model train forest than a real forest. Anyhow, that has changed. I started a little bit here with this elevation that should be kind of a eye catcher in the background. I made it a little bit lower. I'm going away from those dramatic slopes if I can. It's still fairly steep and strong. I try to plant some kind of bushes here, undergrowth on the slope, and I have to do more with the textures, and then there will be these building basically an optical conclusion to the town here. That has changed. What else has changed? This will be a short episode. We just go over a few changes and then we are done. Oh yeah, here. I started working here on this part that is close to the eastern edge of the line. Let me go in drive mode and we can see the trains going again in the background, and experimenting a little bit with this. Yet another standalone garden restaurant where you can go to have your afternoon coffee, the kids can play, and hikers, of course, have the hiking path here. Which I think is, it's very nice. I like it. I like this model. I like the parking lot. I will perhaps add a few more bushes here where the wall ends and here in this corner. Maybe we do this right now. Let me see what I have. We go to bushes. Something like that. Put it here. And perhaps a few more here, and they look a little bit too large. Let me kind of moderate this a little bit. Something like that. Yep. That looks actually, well, as close to a good looking piece as I can make it. I picked somewhere up. That doesn't look nice here. I have to, now you see all my shortcomings. Put this a little bit closer here. This concrete, oops, that is actually not the piece I want, I think. I'm not sure if I have to just adjust this concrete slab that goes here across the tracks a little bit to the road. So, I like also this road. It looks realistic. If you come near, I have to adjust a little bit the edges. They don't look right. That is actually something I haven't done at all, almost anywhere. There are models that allow you to put some dirt beside the road, and I'm considering using them. There's a lot of road, so I may do it in some areas and check it out how it looks. Otherwise, I may just put a little bit a soil texture just here at the edge once I've adjusted the height a little bit better. And then, of course, it makes a big difference if you have those posts here, the white and black posts that act as indications of the border, especially when it's dark. They have usually reflectors on them, and they mark the boundaries. Very nice. I'm happy with that. Actually, the whole layout is getting slightly better, I think. There are still some areas that are not finished at all, but if we go now to here, for example, look out here. If you don't look too closely in some bad corners, this looks actually okay. What I want to do now is I want to replace one of those VT98s with a different diesel rail car, and I want to actually, the biggest offender in terms of the correct period is it's not this one, it's actually this one. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to take trains out while they are actually having triggered a a route, because otherwise that route doesn't get dissolved easily. So when this train goes into the shadow train station, I may actually take it off the track and replace it with a different one there that fits the period better. That is probably the most modern locomotive that doesn't fit in. Furthermore, it's electric, and at the moment we consider overhead catenary lines as subscale, so we don't see them. You would see them, of course, they're important. I'm not an expert on catenary lines. There is a lot of science to it, how you have to isolate them. There are millions and millions of parts that you can get in order to do it right. And I basically have to read about it, but I'm not really interested in it. That is the sad thing. Otherwise, I would have probably done it already earlier. It is not close to my heart, and I rather avoid electrification. I may do it here along the bypass, simply because I like this. I'm not even sure. It looks like an E10. And that is an Epoch 3 train that is fully okay. And however, I use it only for freight trains. So it is probably okay to just have the freight side of the main line electrified, if at all. So, did I change anything else? Yes. Actually, I wanted to get more involved with my rail yard here. And what I did is I added the perimeter here around this factory to make it look a little bit more finished. I added roads here now. There used to be just kind of a texture going down here. It's now this asphalt road. It connects different industries. It goes here into the rail yard, connects several of the buildings, goes here into the parcel goods section. I'm not sure if that's the right word. And I made this more uniform red gravel. I call it the red gravel. There are 3 base gravels in the game. One is grayish, one is very dark grayish, and one is this reddish gravel, which I choose for this one. Now you could argue it doesn't fit very well with this turntable, which is very grey, and you have a point. I changed to this one. It used to be the brick one, but the brick one looked very, well, Disney brick, kind of cutesy brick. And it didn't look good, even though there is brick here, this waterhouse. I think even this grey looks better than the roundhouse that was here before. And I added here this water pipeline to the water, which is being drawn back here from the river. So there's an underground line at the moment. I may actually extend this line above ground and have it a little bit here in this fuel depot area. Let's call it a refinery, perhaps even. Well, it's not really a refinery. It's only a storage for oil and petroleum products. But it's very conceivable that they have pipes going around here, and I'll use this model to look at them. And I've started having a little access road here with this gatehouse and this parking lot, and where the workers of the rail yard can come and before they go to their offices and to their work, wherever they do. And then we'll hopefully in the near future have an operation again. That is one of my favorite words. I apologize for that. That involves the rail yard, where we take an engine out of the roundhouse, use a turntable, service the engine in some way, perhaps look also at recoaling the storage here, and use perhaps a crane to put coal in one of the engines, and then use that engine to drive out and pick up some cars and perhaps form what I call a specialty train. Basically a train that doesn't drive around all the time randomly out of the shadow train station, but is timed, is unique, does one thing from A to B, and that's it for that scenario. So I have to get a little bit more inspiration in how to refine this rail yard better. It's very, well, most of it is just this gravel, obviously, so I have to put a little bit more variety in there, and of course cars and people, but perhaps even some more kind of goods, smaller items, to make it look realistic. But I tried to find movies that show real rail yards of the time, and but they're usually fairly old, and they show the trains more than the operation part of the rail yard. Anyhow, that is where I am right now. Nothing else really has changed. That's actually enough, I thought. And you see how things are progressing. It's actually, I have the feeling I learned a few things since I started out. That's actually rewarding, that you can look at other people's work and see what they do, get some inspiration, try to replicate it, perhaps not as good as they can. Most people that deal with EEP have much more experience than I do, but there is certainly a steep learning curve, not just on the technical side, but also on the realism side and the decor side, and that is where I'm currently at, I guess. So I missed him. I do this off camera. I exchange this also for a rail car. And then we have something that is probably getting more in line with what we try to do here. Anyhow, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. Those of you that give me advice and good tips, I really appreciate it. I'll try to implement them as best as I can. And feel any time free to either contact me by leaving a comment or email me. I tend to respond as quick as I see it. I'm not the most online person, so I'm not a person that hangs all the time on social media, so it may take me a while to see it, but if I do, I'd be very happy to respond and discuss with you what needs to be done better. Have a wonderful evening and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.